That's hilarious. What a good start. I was literally about to say, I have all of the intentions of this being seamless. I'm going to make sure that my mic is unmuted, and I literally started with it muted. I'm trying. If you joined me for last week's live sprint, you'll know that all went a little bit awry. Today, my main goal is to remember to unmute myself, aside from that little initial hiccup. So yes, today I've got lots and lots of bits that I want to work on, and yeah, I'm trying to make these live streams a little more of a professional endeavor. I have finally figured out how to make it so that the countdown actually starts when like from 30. If you've watched these before, you might notice the countdown is sort of halfway through, and that's because, you know, behind the scenes information, I start the countdown, then I press go live. So it's the amount of time for it to actually go live. But I've realized, this is probably obvious, that I can have it so that my camera isn't here. And that was why I was muted. So it comes up with a black screen and then the countdown starts. Genius. But then I forgot to unmute. So that's a thing. Right. So what am I working on today? I am working on a new story. Did anybody know that I have probably got ADHD? I am still working on the edits of the story I've been working on the last number of live streams. But my plan is to sort of write first, so spend sort of an hour writing in the morning and then edit for about an hour. That's my plan for sort of the routine, so that I'm paying attention to both things. I came up with a new story idea last Wednesday. I was going to make a TikTok about it, but I didn't have time. I will do it at some point. Basically, I was driving my daughter to ballet, and as I was driving, the whole premise of this book just sort of dropped. And you know how, like, this is something I've thought about before, and probably more in the context of, wouldn't it be great if there was a book like this? But it had never dawned on me for me to be the person to be writing it, because I didn't feel in the place to be writing it. But now I do feel like I have that you know, I'm sort of qualified to do it, if that makes sense. I'm not going to give you too much information on what it is until I'm more through it, in case I spend a load of time writing it and then it's trash. So that's what I'm going to be doing, is working on that new story. I will beforehand do some journaling, as I usually do, to get into the writing thing. So I just write a couple of pages of whatever comes into my head. So I'm going to do 2 pages of journaling, gets me into a state of flow. I really recommend it. So I'm going to do that and then go back to this new story. I've only done about 1,000 words, so I'm going to see how much I get through. So yeah, I don't know how good the journaling is going to be, because I've got tennis elbow. I've had it since January. It really hurts. Can't find my elbow support. I do have physio next week though, so that's good. Anyways, that's the plan. As always, do let me know what you are writing, what you're up to, what you're joining me to do today. But yeah, I will mute myself, put some music on, set myself a timer, and then when I come back, I'm gonna unmute myself. This needs to become a thing on these live streams, that, you know, take a drink every time I forget to unmute, or that I manage to forget to charge my laptop and it powers down. That's what happened last week. Anyway, right, let's put up writing sprint for 15 minutes. So I'm going to mute myself now, and I'll see you back in 15 minutes. Enjoy. Welcome back after your 15-minute sprint. I hope you got some useful bits done. I unmuted myself. Amazing. Feel like, oh, I'm going to close WhatsApp though. I feel like I should, like I need to have notes to self around me. Unmute, get rid of WhatsApp, mute your emails, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so let me know in the comments what you managed to get done. And like I said, also what you are working on today. I did my journaling. As I said, definitely recommend doing this. Sometimes I do it before I come on to the live, but I didn't have a chance to do that this morning. So I did that. I have located and opened the document and just getting my head around where I already was. This is going to be another non-fiction project, and that's part of why I just want to crack on with it, because to me, writing non-fiction it feels easy. Easy is the wrong word. It feels totally achievable. Like I don't doubt that I can do it. The reason being, going to university, I did a lot of academic writing, and I did a master's degree as well, and that was in education. So that's a social science. There's a lot more writing than in my science degree, so a lot longer pieces, sort of more considered, and I don't know, that just kind of set me up for finding facts, backing myself up and writing it coherently and having a lot of practice on that. And then, since then I've written Milk, which is memoir, but also peppered with those non-fiction bits. Obviously it's non-fiction because it's a memoir, but I mean sort of factual, informational bits. And then self-publishing, which is also, non-fiction. It just feels very comfortable. The children's books are a different thing, but again, that feels something very comfortable for me. So when this idea dropped, I was like, I feel well positioned to write this, because that's one of the things with non-fiction is like, who am I to write this? But I feel like, okay, I have a position of some experience and authority, and I know what it is that I want to say in this piece. And then I feel like all I have to do is find like the journey through it, where am I getting to, what's the point I'm trying to make, and how does that divide up? And then I just write those sections and find the research I need. So that feels really, I guess, because, well, it does use your imagination, because it uses that sense of how can I get this idea across, and how can I sort of creatively present this in a coherent way. But that's different to a blank page and I'm just going to fill it with some things that came out of my brain, which is how fiction feels. And obviously, sorry, fidgety, the fiction piece that I am editing is largely written, but what I'm struggling with is stuff that, because it's outside of my wheelhouse. So how do I make this a really good plot? How do I flesh out my characters? How do I make this interesting and engaging? And, so people are really going to love it, and they're not going to be like, well, she's clearly terrible at writing fiction. So yeah, that's why for me, this non-fiction project feels like I can just write it without too much like self-doubt or anything. I predict this will take me about 2 months to write, and only that long because there's Easter and I'm not going to really be able to do anything over Easter. So about 2 months, it will be done. Then I go into editing. I would actually predict that this would be out end of the year, beginning of next year, because something like this is fairly straightforward to write, edit, get an editor, publish. It just is kind of it's a way more straightforward project than an illustrated children's book. So it just feels really comfortable. So now I've got all that open and I know where I'm at. I'm going to get on over the next 15 minutes with getting some more words in there. So yeah, we're going to do another writing sprint, 15 minutes, see what we get done. Really like these live streams. It helps for my accountability too. So I'm going to put myself on mute, and I'll speak to you in 15 minutes. Hi everyone, that's the end of 15 minutes. Let's take a little 5-minute break. How much have I written? Only a couple of hundred words, I think. Where are we? Yeah, like 200-300 words. At the moment, I'm writing the introduction, trying to sort of explain what I'm going to be covering in the book. I haven't written yet, but I know broadly what I'm going to be doing, and sort of positioning myself as the person to be writing this book, because that's one of the things, like I do that in Milk and in self-publishing, is to say at the beginning, this is where I'm coming from. And like, I don't ever think of myself as an expert. It's more just like, look, this is my experience, this is where I'm coming from, and you don't have to agree with me or think the same things, but if any of this is helpful, then fantastic. So basically writing that. It's going all right. I'm excited for this project. I'm also having, like, I've got next to me a little to-do list, because things keep popping into my head that I need to get done over the next couple of days. So I'm just, anytime anything comes into my head, I'm just scribbling that down so I don't get distracted by it and start doing it. So yeah, I've got that. Got my little kind of setup here. So we're going to have another 15-minute writing sprint shortly, and I'm going to carry on with getting into this story and seeing where I go. One of the things that I find quite difficult with writing on these live streams is that I often, when I'm writing like certain phrases and certain bits, I'll then read out to myself. So I'll write a bit and then I'll be like, and I'll say it out loud and kind of work through it, because I find when you say things, you discover whether it could have been phrased better or what have you. So trying to write without mumbling to myself is actually quite the challenge. But yeah, that said, it's going all right. So yeah, what else is there to say in this little break? It's been really nice seeing WhatsApp's open again. It's one of brain. This is why I shouldn't have WhatsApp open. What was I going to say? Oh yes, it's really nice to have to get you guys' comments. I know that some of you watch these live streams not live, so you watch these later, and it's really nice to have people commenting like, oh, I got X amount of words done, or I'm working on this, or I really, really like that. So yeah, even if you're not watching this live, I'd still love to see your comments. Obviously I can't respond in real time, but yeah, it would still be really nice to know what it is you're writing. So yeah, that is lovely. It's always nice to get comments on videos. You know, it helps me to know that what I'm doing is useful. Aside from getting like views and likes, that's one thing, but to actually interact is way nicer. It's way more human as well. Yeah, that's where we're at. So over the next sprint, I'm going to get back into writing that story, and hopefully I'd like to get 1,000 words done today, but I don't know if that's realistic because I'm still feeling my way with this as well. So I'm sort of still like rewriting and reworking. I haven't picked up speed, but we'll see. So, and I hadn't done as much as I thought. I thought I'd done 1,000 words, but I was only at about 600. So I'm now at like 900-ish. So, yeah, just like getting that introduction. I tend to write sort of in order, but then if I think of bits in it that are relevant to other sections, then I'll just kind of write notes and come back to it. But I tend to write fairly chronologically when it comes to nonfiction. So yeah, back into the introduction. So let's have a last 15-minute sprint, and I'll see you all back here for the last little 5-minute chat. But I'm going to pop myself on mute, and I will see you all shortly. Wow, that just disappeared, that 15 minutes. I have a timer on the that was a weird way of saying it, behind me. And so when the timer went off, I was like, what? I've hardly done anything. What have I done? Another maybe 200 words. But one useful thing that I did do is that I've added a glossary to this book, because it's really hard to talk about this without giving you any more details. But I feel like it's too early in the project to be more explicit. But I feel like people reading this book are going to already know the terms that I'm using. And if I was reading this book, then I would find it mildly irritating if those terms were being explained, because I feel like this is a book aimed at people who aren't like entry level in this particular situation. And so I thought a way around that is, I have said near the beginning, I'm just going to be using common terms, but if you're not sure, there's a glossary, because these are like really, really common, well-known terms. I'm not using anything like super, specific. Glossary. So I've got like 5 words in my glossary already. It's going to be quite a short glossary, I'm going to be honest. It's probably only going to have maybe like 15 words in it, but it does just mean, because also the way that I'm using this language might be different to how somebody else would. So they'll be able to go, what do you mean by that? And check. So that's my thought process. So I did that. I'm almost through the introduction. So the introduction will be sort of 1,000 words. It doesn't really need to be much more than that, I don't think. It is just kind of saying, right, this is where we're at. This is why I've written it. This is kind of who I am. And then I think I can't decide whether to put in the introduction. I want to have a section where I kind of give my experience, and I don't know whether to have that in the introduction as a separate chapter, or I'm going to have it peppered through the book anyway, I think. But I want sort of a specific bit where I'm like, right, this is so people know where I'm coming from. And I don't know. So in the introduction, I've just kind of said very briefly, this is who I am, this is where I'm coming from. But I would like to go into more detail. I feel like the introduction, that would mean that I spend a whole load of time talking about myself, narcissist much, and and not a lot actually saying this is what the book is about and this is how it will be helpful. And so I think I'm probably going to do that as like chapter 2, and just be like, right, so this is my experience, this is where I'm coming from. Because I think in anything really, in any non-fiction type of thing, even if you might think it was like incontrovertible truth, you are still coming from a position. That's why in like academic papers, you have to declare your interests, where you work, who you are, all that kind of stuff, because you are saying, look, this is where I come from. This is, it's just positioning yourself like, this is who I am, this is where I come from, this is how I'm approaching this. And what I'm writing about is a kind of sociological thing. So it is really important to understand, like, this is the experience I'm coming from, because other people might see it completely differently. So basically that's what I'm doing, just deciding how to set it out. And then I'm going to have chapters that it kind of go through different elements, different aspects of what I'm talking about. And then at the end, I can draw it together. It's interesting because in self-publishing, there was a very obvious linear, these are the steps to making a book, and then at the end, here's a book. So it was a more obvious progression, whereas this is like lots of different aspects that could go in any order. So it's me deciding, like, how does this route through this make the most sense? Anyway, so that's what I'm doing. Hopefully by the time I join you next, I will have done some more. I'm planning to work on this every day. Next week, I am hoping to join you for a live stream, but it is Easter Monday. My kids will be here. I am hoping to just sort of prep them that mum is doing a thing for an hour. It also depends because my husband's got the day off as well, and we have some house things that we need to do. So if he's getting into some DIY and he kind of can't be on call if the kids, you know, want a snack or whatever, and yes, that is what my kids sound like, then yeah, it might not be doable. I'm hoping it is. So check in here. I might be here. I hope I will be. The week after that, however, I will not be because I am on holiday. So yeah, looking forward to that very much. So next week, maybe, hopefully. Week after that, I'm not. And then the week after that, definitely. So that's the thing. I will, if it looks like next Monday is gonna work out, then I will put up like a warning of the live stream. I'll schedule it so you can see that, because once I've had a chance to speak to my husband and just be like, do you think? Because I'm not sure exactly what his plans are. He was talking about laying a floor in here, but I actually don't think he's doing that now. He's I can't even remember what he said he was going to work on. There was some big project that needed to be done. Can't remember. Anyway, whatever it was, there's just so much that he's doing. One of those things. So anyway, I will check with him, and provided that he's like, yeah, that's fine, that will fit in with his plans, and that he can be sort of on call if the kids need him, then I'll be here and I will schedule it. So that is everything for today. I am going to go off. What am I going to do? I've got some messages to send. I've got a social media post to make. And then, as you are probably aware, if you've joined me before, I volunteer on a Monday afternoon. And I also need to nip into town, buy a couple of bits and pieces. So I'm probably going to leave here about an hour and a half. I don't know. You don't need to know the specifics of that. But yeah, so basically the point is I don't have masses of time to like eat, get ready, and also so I think it's just going to be small admin. I think I'm done on writing for today. Sometimes after I've logged off of the live stream, I then carry on for a bit. But I think today that's probably it. And I'll carry on with it tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to be recording some audiobooks at a studio, so that's exciting. Anyway, I am now rambling, so I hope that was helpful. As always, let me know in the comments what you're writing, what you are writing. Why was that hard to say? And yeah, I will see you soon for more writing sprints. And as always, there's a little archive of previous ones if you need some company. So thank you for joining me as always, and I'll see you all soon. Have a lovely and I opened WhatsApp again. I'm a terrible person. I will join you. No, you will. See, this is why I shouldn't have things open. That's what it does to my brain. That's evidence. But my mum was messaging me about something, and it's easier to respond on here than on my phone. That's why it's open. Anyway, I'm going. Have a lovely week. I hope you get lots of writing done and lots of creative stuff. Have a good one.